for coming. We really appreciate you coming out. We've done a number of these, and they've all been great because we get very good feedback. People care about these things. And of course, when we're talking about fields and rec, this is one of the areas where all of us have realized we've fallen behind a little bit. The tennis courts are kind of a shining example in a bad way of where we've fallen behind. The Beechwood playground is something that we've been talking about for years, that it's time to take some action. So we're trying to do that this year. And the other thing that I'll just remind everybody of is we've still got more catching up to do, especially around fields and rec. The study that came out a couple of years ago indicated that we're short 11 fields for the population that we have and the sports that we have. So this is a start. We hope it's a good start. There's more to come. And Tim, I'd appreciate it if you could.
Yeah, so I'm Tim Bernica. I'm the chair of the Rec Commission. I agree with what Chris is saying. We hired a consultant to come in and take a look at what the situation was in terms of the number of kids we had playing sports, the number of sports that were being played, and the fields that they were being played on. And there's a little summary of that here at the very beginning of this project brief, where it shows we took some of their advice under advisement, and we were looking to, a plan was presented to increase sites from 12 to 17. So we're going to go from 12 fields to 17 fields. The cost of that is 27 to 32 million. And so that was not going to fly. It was not going to happen. So as Chris is saying, this scaled down version came after discussions with the community, discussions with those consultants. And at this forum here back in August, this project was put forward. And the three pieces of the project are to replace the tennis courts at Milliken Field, which have been in need of repair for at least 10 years, if not longer. And some people that have played up there can probably speak that it's longer than that. An important thing at Beechwood is that the Beechwood playground has never really been ADA compliant. It's wood chips, and it's used. The structure, the play structure was purchased used. So it was old at the time that it was put in, which was 16 years ago. And then the third piece of this project that we're talking about is a sports wall. They call it a sports wall. You can use it to shoot lacrosse balls. You can use it to kick soccer balls. You can use it to play tennis. It's got a little bit of a turf area on either side of the wall that allows you to do a bunch of different ball sports and get some practice in by yourself when you don't need other people involved. So those are the three projects. You'll note that if you look at the project brief here, you'll see that the funding for these projects has been approved by the CPC. They're going to fund 100% of the costs of these three projects. Which and it should also point you to the project brief. The costs are at the top here. You'll see the renovation of Milliken and the retaining wall at Milliken is going to be $1.5 million estimated. To build that new Beechwood playground is going to be $350,000, and the installation of the sports wall in site preparation and what have you is $100,000.
So with that, we've got a short video that'll give you a little bit more information about these different projects, and then we'll take whatever questions you have. Just one more PSA while that's coming up. I do mean that there's more to come, but one of the things that we'd appreciate, maybe not tonight, but in the near future, is help understanding what are the priorities. So we know we're short fields. We've got a lot of questions about pickleball. What are the other things that we should be thinking about as we keep on moving forward? So that's it for me, filling time, and we can jump over the video.
Cohasset is proud to announce Phase 1 of the Courts and Playground Project for Special Town Meeting 2023.
Hi, this is Chris Plex from your Cohasset Select Board. This fall at Special Town Meeting, we'll be asking for your support for a number of community investments that we think will benefit all of us.
It satisfies the needs of the entire community.
And that investment starts with broad support from the Cohasset Select Board. The project will rebuild the Milliken tennis courts and will eliminate safety hazards for both kids and adult use. Right now, the Milliken tennis courts are falling apart with large cracks and weeds growing through the surface.
I'm here at the tennis courts at Milliken Field, where if you've tried to play pickleball or tennis lately, You've seen the cracks in the courts and the crumbling retaining walls.
These original 2 courts are from 1959, and then the 4 courts on the far end are from 1999, so they're overdue for a renovation.
But don't just take it from Select Board member Chris Plex and Recreation Director Ted Carroll. Just ask former Cohasset tennis standout turned tennis pro Emma Davis, who achieved a career high of 670 in the world on the WTA Tour.
When I played there, they were starting to crack. There was, the weeds starting to grow. Again, obviously a tennis court to me was a tennis court. They had a net. I could hit the ball. Like, it was fine. It wasn't putting me in danger and anything. But it does, over time, they need to be resurfaced, and I can't even imagine how long it's been.
Davis, who now coaches tennis at Yale, says it's important to resurface a court not only for the look, but also for safety.
You can just tell from the look of a court, when they start to crack and stuff. Again, sometimes small cracks, not a big deal, but as they get bigger, your toe can go in, you can trip.
The proposed project also includes a sports wall behind the library on Sawyer Street. It also brings the Beechwood Playground into ADA compliance. After an analysis in 2022 and extensive discussions with the public, a plan was crafted to help turn ideas into reality.
I think it's a really practical approach. The study has been really comprehensive and thorough and prioritized what's needed most in short order, i.e. the tennis courts that we happen to be standing on today.
Public feedback that we got on a couple of the early plans kind of led us to go back to the drawing board and kind of figure out, okay, this is what the community wants right now.
The Milliken tennis courts and the retaining wall will cost $1.5 million. The new Beechwood Playground will cost $350,000, and the installation of a sports wall will cost $100,000. The funding would come from the Community Preservation Committee. Let's continue to work together to invest in our community so Cohasset continues to flourish for years to come.
It's a big deal because, listen, it's time to reinvest back into the community.
Cohasset's such a beautiful place, and then you go to see the courts and to see this beautiful town and then have tennis courts like that. I do think, again, tennis is a game that the whole community can play, whether you're 80 years old, whether you're 5 years old, you can play it for your whole life.
A playground for younger kids, throwing the sport wall for kids that play racket sports or certain types of sports. It's all about the community and having an option for the community to get out and enjoy beautiful facilities in a beautiful town.
If you have any questions, please come out to one of our community meetings or reach out directly to one of your select board members. We want to make sure we're making the right investments for Cohasset. So just one more comment, and then we can jump into any questions that you have. I was out at a field hockey game in Scituate, not this most recent weekend, but the one before, and they have one of these sports walls out there with the turf around it. And what really surprised me was it was a magnet for the kids. So kids were over there with soccer balls, with lacrosse balls, with tennis balls, just having a great time. That was the thing that attracted them. And that beautiful Scituate athletic complex where you had turf fields, you had grass fields, you had all sorts of things. The wall is what really attracted them. So I think that would be a great addition to the space we have back here behind the library. So I'm going to stop the pitch there. I would love to hear any questions that you guys here in the room have. And Megan, if you could help us keep track of any questions that pop up online. Please.
Leonora Jenkins, Jerusalem Road. Has there ever been any maintenance money for the tennis courts?
So there certainly has been, but I think what's obvious is that it hasn't been sufficient. And also, no matter what maintenance you do, at some point, they just start to crumble to the point where maintenance isn't the answer anymore. So I think without making any judgment about whether sufficient dollars have been allocated in the past, we're definitely at the point now where it's not about maintenance, it's about a rebuild to make sure these things are up to par.
Leland Jenkins, Jerusalem Road. Out of 8,400 people in the Cohasset, how many people use that tennis court?
I think you'd be surprised at the number just from having been up there for soccer games. They do get a lot of activity, and it's not just tennis. Like I was saying about the lacrosse wall out in Scituate, it's a great place for kids to run around. Kids are up there riding their bikes. But Tim, I don't know if you have any more specifics.
I don't have exact numbers, Lee, but what I can tell you is that in the springtime, every gym class goes out to those courts. So they're used Monday through Friday between the hours of, let's call it 8 and 3 by the school kids. The tennis teams that, boys and girls tennis teams that participate in the spring are two of the largest teams, two of the largest spring teams out of all of the sports at the high school. So it gets significant usage, at least by the kids at the high school or at the high school level. And then, there's no real registration, or it's sort of a first come, first serve for adults. So it's kind of hard to gauge, how many adults are out there actually using it. And so I don't have that information, but I do know that the kids use it quite a bit in the spring.
You're gonna replace the retaining wall and remove all the asphalt, put all new asphalt,
Yes,
and the retaining wall.
yes.
That's most of your cost right there, retaining.
I don't know the number on the retaining wall, but that is going to be a big number.
Did you think of the retaining wall, if you raised a couple parts of it, it would also be a backboard for hitting the ball? Right now, you can't really use it as a backboard.
That's true.
So something to do.
I don't think that's in the current plan, but we could certainly see what comes back when we get the RFPs out.
Ronnie McMorris, 89 Dome Street. This whole package looks terrific. I just wanted to add with the playground, taking up on what you're saying, it's a real community gathering spot. And so even with the new playground equipment, we have some picnic tables there, but it's also, it will be with a general store, kind of a great community gathering place, maybe with a few more benches and things that we can, add in the future. But, this is just taking up on what you're saying. It's tremendously used by the neighborhood.
And Ronnie, I know you've personally been pulling for this for a while, so I'm sorry it took as long as it did, but hopefully this is when we get it through.
Very much appreciated.
Yeah.
CPC paying part of this.
CPC is funding all of it.
Where is it?
Bottom of the page in the yellow. But that's relatively new. That's only within, I think, the last 2
Are we
weeks.
gonna borrow money to fund this?
Is CPC going to borrow money to fund it? Yes, because CPC wants to continue funding other projects in the meantime, and allocating the full $2 million would exceed their annual budget.
How long of funding would it go for?
I think that's up to CPC. I don't know that they've determined that yet.
I believe they're looking at an amortization time period of 10 years. Even though they could go longer, they're looking at 10.
The state controls that, correct?
No. CPC makes a recommendation and town meeting votes on it. The state provides a match up to a certain percent, and Mr. Benetti is here and can weigh in, I'm sure, but the majority is based on the property surcharge tax we pay.
All right, I think the question was about the amortization years, because the state controls what number of years each department can go out for, because I know like in water, you can go out for 30. So I don't know whether or not CPC is only 10.
I don't know the answer to that.
I think it's based on the useful life of the project, and it's in terms of the limitation that you're looking at. And so we could go, arguably the town could go higher based on the projected life of the tennis courts, but I think they want to go shorter in order to pivot it up. So they don't have to go as much.
Agnes McCann, 104 Dome Street. I second everything Ronnie said. The playground gets a lot of use. It will get a lot more when it doesn't have wood chips. And as a resident and a grandmother, I just think I'm so happy that it's going to be done.
Thanks.
And it's a draw not just for the neighborhood. I mean, it's a huge draw for the neighborhood, but it's a draw for the surrounding communities as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Very, very busy.
No, we don't have to go anywhere. Up there.
I'm Sarah Cross at 81 Dome Street. I just want to reiterate that, how grateful we are for everyone who's listened to us and has made the push to get this playground done, and everything else I think is really going to enhance down as well. And, Michelle's been such a great partner with us and listening to us and taking our ideas and continuing to do that. So we just really appreciate everyone's efforts.
What was your name again? I'm sorry.
Sarah Cross.
Sarah, Paul Brady. We took a lot of that into account. We listened to Ronnie, listened to Agnes, we listened to all of you guys. And Also taking into account the general stores coming in, it's gonna be a heck of an area down there. And it's, you know, it's been pushed down for a long time. It's just time to pull it back in. So I think it's gonna be a fantastic spot if everything comes to pass.
Megan, any questions coming in online?
Okay, here comes Connie.
Yes, hi.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, so I'm co-chair of the Open Space and Recreation Committee. Pleased to join you. Great to hear what's going on. I have a question about pickleball vis-a-vis the 6 tennis courts up at the high school. I'm wondering if some of them are going to be painted so that they can be used for pickleball as well as tennis or not.
So that is something that's a big point of discussion right now. I do understand that for the tennis courts to be used for competition, we need 5 courts for standard competition, which leaves open the option of maybe painting the 6th for pickleball. So I don't think we've reached a conclusion on that yet. We're open to community input. Tim, Michelle, I don't know if you want to.
So one thing we are actually going to try as a trial run is we're going to put some tape down on the basketball courts over here at Sawyer Street, and allow, and we going to purchase a couple of portable nets that can be put away and taken out when people need them. And this is going to be sort of a trial balloon to see if people are down there actually playing. If a lot of people want to play, and a lot of people, it gets a lot of use, then that's something that is going to weigh in on, okay, what are we doing with that 6th court? Should we stripe it for pickleball? Should we not make it a tennis court and make it maybe 2 pickleball courts? That's kind of going to be our trial run to see how people like it, if they enjoy it and get some use out of it. So stay tuned on that. That's going to be, you know, this is probably not the best time of year to start doing this, to begin this project. But if we get a little bit of nice weather between, you know, say now and the end of November, you know, I don't see why we can't start it now.
Okay. Yeah. So that's great. That sounds really reasonable to me. Absolutely. Yeah, because I'm an avid tennis player. I absolutely love it. I like pickleball as well, but it just seems odd to me that we wouldn't be offering, and I've played on regular pickleball courts and I've played on up at the high school where they're marked, you know, to do both. And clearly it's much easier to play a good game of pickleball on a real pickleball court where you're not looking at both the tennis lines and the pickleball lines, which can be confusing. So I understand the need to keep enough tennis courts for the high school to be able to hold matches, etc. That's obviously important. But if there is the ability to, you know, to possibly convert some of the other space to legitimate pickleball, obviously depending on how your survey and your examination turns out, I think that would be really wise, just looking at the trends in sports these days. So thank you very much.
Who's speaking?
Would you mind reintroducing yourself for folks? I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry. So yes, my name is Connie Afshar, and I'm really just speaking personally right now, but I am co-chair of the Open Space and Recreation Committee.
Thank you. Okay, we have George and then Rue.
George? Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
This is George. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, George Baumgarten, 264 staff. I simply have a related question on pickleball as well. That I play, my wife plays, we have friends who play. We've gone to Hull to their dedicated courts. They're awesome. And I would just reiterate, I think that we represent demand. I think there would be a lot of demand in Cohasset for pickleball, and would certainly advocate dedicated pickleball courts. In addition, potentially lining courts or having some option to have courts that can be multi-purpose at the very least. the way they sort of are over at Milliken Field today, but I would be a big advocate for trying to support pickleball playing in Cohasset. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Lou.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, hi there. Hi, Rue Wilson, 39 Bancroft Road. So right down the road from the tennis courts. Just to pick up on what's been said about the pickleball. So the tennis courts, it sounds like are predominantly being used or further use would be for competitive tennis by the high school. So I'm not sure that's really addressing the recreational needs of most of the community. And obviously, as we're talking about, pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the US. And also sort of just leads issue around funding and whether the school is involved in funding tennis court renovation if mostly the high school is using them for competitive matches. I do play pickleball. I play down at the tennis courts. It is really hard to see the lines. And if we can have dedicated courts, then surely some lines would be great. Thank you.
So first of all, the interest in pickleball is coming through loud and clear, and it's been in all of the conversations that have happened around this topic. So we are definitely looking at it. It's a fair question as well. If one of the tennis courts, converting that to 2 pickleball courts would be enough. So it is something we're going to be looking at when we come around for the next town meeting. You had also asked about whether or not the schools are contributing. It's all the same pot of money for the schools in the town. So I would say that not directly, but by everybody tightening their belts a bit to get access to these things, that is coming through. With the caveat that this is being funded directly by the CPC. So just want to clarify that.
Quick question. The CPC money, do we have any loans at the present time we haven't paid back with the CPC money?
No debt at the CPC right now.
They paid off the land.
The land?
They paid off the land they borrowed on, okay, all right? I haven't seen figures.
So you don't know who's paid off.
As far as I understand, there is no debt at the CPC right now.
Well, that's the only loan we've ever taken is for the land. Water department.
I could certainly come back and check, but I don't think there's any debt for CPC loans at this point.
Dave McDonough, 306 Fair Oaks. So first off, just a thank you to the Rec Commission, the Select Board, and to Michelle and the town. Having been involved with the field study from the beginning and seeing what a big need the town has, it's nice to see how these selections that have been put forward to the town and how it's the smart use of funding. And it's going to 3 different sites in the town that will not only create an asset for new assets or refurbishment of assets, but it will bring crowds and kids to each of these locations. So it's great to see. But as to Tim's point from earlier about the deficit in fields, just curious what the longer term strategy is for the town and the CPC to work together to address that, knowing that we're constrained with the amount of space in town, but I'm just curious if there's discussions that are coming forward on that.
I'll just say briefly that Tim and I were talking about that exact topic as we were coming together. And Tim, I don't know if you want to speak to.
Well, so I think the first thing to remember and recognize that this is a start, right? So there are continuing discussions. The thing that we I guess looking at the consultants that we hired and looking at their options, you were part of the activity task scenario. A lot of their proposed ways to make up the deficit in fields were either prohibitively expensive or just wouldn't work logistically. And so it's this game of trying to find the sites that we can develop or take from wild to groomed fields. And that's it's constant, it's ongoing. We're always having discussions about it. And it's if somebody's got ideas, we want to hear them, and we'll be happy to explore any of those.
How about that site behind the pool? It's a big plot of land for pickleball. Maybe you can make it dedicated.
So,
courts.
whose land is that? That is not town land, I don't believe. It's the pool's land. Yeah, that belongs to the pool. So there, there's issues there where, they may have designs on it and something they want to use it for. So maybe that wouldn't, we could obviously have discussion with them and see what their plans were and try to figure out something there. But that's not, I don't think that's a option for the town to do on its own.
Russell Benetti, 20 Parker Ave. How firm are these estimates that you have? The Beechwood, when it first came to us, was substantially less than 350. I understand that it's an opinion of value or of cost, but have you gotten any hard estimates, which actually is required as part of the CPC?
Michelle, do you want to take this one?
So we haven't gone up to bid on the project yet, so we don't have bid prices yet. So we still do just have the opinion of value, which is the best estimate from our consultant. Until we go out to a full-blown RFP, we won't have exact costs on any of these projects.
So it could go substantially higher.
I guess it's definitely a risk, but based on the escalators and everything that they've put into this, I don't believe that will happen, especially based on the equipment that we chose. So we'll go to our.
And I think, Russ, the reason why that number jumped a lot is this iteration involves this product called poured in place. It's like a rubberized kind of surface. Yeah, okay, so I think that is where the jump came, where prior we were thinking, okay, let's replace this equipment that is at least 16 years old because we bought it used. Let's replace this equipment, the play space, and we'll get to the grounds. And then when we were reminded again that this is not an ADA compliant playground, it was like, well, okay, if we're doing this project, we're going to do it correctly. And so that was the idea. I think that's where the jump came from the first time it was presented to this number.
Now, is this going to be ADA federal or ADA mass?
Good question.
ADA mass.
Mass.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I might add that it could come in lower too.
Sorry?
I may add that it could come in lower too, Russ.
It could. I wouldn't want to hold my breath from the last time about this. This has come in.
Well, I'd give it a shot.
Lower.
Any other questions? Anybody online?
The question is going to be cork mixed in with the asphalt. Is it cork?
For the tennis court or?
Tennis court, yes. I think they put cork in it, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
The special tennis mix.
There is a tennis mix. That is a fact. Yes. Yeah, I don't know what the composition is of it. Again, this is all the stuff that we're going to get when we go out for the RFPs.
We'll give it another few seconds of this awkward silence before we let you guys go. Still nothing online? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. One last ask, please make sure you come to town meeting and to the special town election. We want to make sure that we hear what folks have to say, both at town meeting and in the election. So thank you.
Thank you.